Hello, and welcome to COVID Convos with Maddie Carver. I'm Maddie Carver, and today I have with me Denise Gindhart, principal and founder of Denise Gindhart Consulting and co-founder of Alchemy, the Soul of Transformation. Denise has spent over 35 years as a member of the A&D community, including time spent as Vice President of Marketing and Sales at the Hillier Group, Director of Development at STV, and Senior Director of Business Development at Skanska USA. Denise has quite a unique view on business cultures, creating a successful and goal-reaching atmosphere in companies with a focus on team building, collaboration, personal development, mindfulness, and relationships. I'm so excited to have this conversation today with Denise. How are you, Denise?
I'm great, Maddie. How are you? So glad to be here with you.
Oh, well, I'm so glad that you decided to participate. This is going to be a good one because everybody's pretty stressed out these days, right?
Yeah, interesting times. There's a lot of unknowns for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's start right into this. I just want to know a little bit about your background and what led you to where you are now with all of the incredible work you do with your consulting firm and with Alchemy. How did that kind of come about?
You know, it's interesting. My background, I went to school for architecture and planning and spent many years doing that and shifted into business development. I was a single parent raising two kids and needed more flexibility in my schedule as opposed to being on project. And the alchemy piece really started because of stress in my life. You know, I was on the corporate wheel. I was exhausted all the time. I had no major health issues, but I just didn't feel my best, and really started exploring meditation and spiritual practice. And I started traveling all over the world and studying with different teachers and different cultures, and just kind of, it was my own personal quest. And I've kind of brought that into some of the work I do, which is really unusual. And so just in the last year, I've kind of taken the Denise and her consulting piece, which I'm still actively involved with a lot of the A&D design construction industry clients. And Alchemy focuses on mindfulness and meditation and wellness and some of the esoteric teachings, and kind of we're starting to bridge those together. So it's been really interesting of just following the breadcrumbs, following what shows up, really being there present with people and kind of saying yes and supporting them, whatever that means.
Well, I was introduced to you at a Professional Women in Construction Philadelphia event that I went to last spring, I think it was. And that was honestly, you know, you go to a lot of these networking events, but that was something that kind of like changed my whole perspective. It changed my week to say the least. But we did yoga poses, we did breathing, we did meditation, and we talked about how we can marry those things into our business lives and help us to be successful and to reach our goals. And it literally was, it just was amazing. So I'm so excited that I get to talk to you today and kind of, talk about what's going on right now. What is your best advice for all of us who are feeling such stress and fatigue right now? A lot of people are talking about the fact that, we're experiencing some PTSD, or we will be experiencing that when it's time to get back into the workplace, because we have to push forward. We really have no choice. But what's the best way to move forward and to keep going when we kind of feel like we can't?
That's a really, really good question. It's not even for us, it's for the kids. I just saw an article where the kids were squared in, chalked in, and they had to stay separate. And little children want to connect and hug each other, and the psychology behind that. And even as adults, the impact of that, not only for our children or the people around, but for ourselves and in our workplace. So I think it's going to be your own personal journey through that. I think employers and organizations are going to do their best to create productive, safe, constructive frameworks. However, how you show up in that is your own personal journey. So I think right now what Michael is my partner. We met building an ashram in India. He was a former Hindu monk for 13 years, was a mortgage banker before that, was also leading a very stressful life, got off the wheel and studied a lot of spiritual practices. And so when we work together, and we're actually working now with 3 organizations, or he works with a lot of senior executives through this transition. And we're talking about the consciousness of the organization, which is really beyond the culture of it. it's not just here we're about, it's like deeper than that. And how to be present with the people as we ramp back into this new paradigm. And so what we've said to people is allow people the space to have their own personal journey. Give them a place to talk about it. Give them space to go be by themselves or get outside, allow them to work from home if they need to work from home, or can only go in certain ways. And just, it's really going to be about people feeling safe. This really rattled a lot of people. I was on a call this morning where someone said, we just got a plan of how to get on the elevator. And who would have thought we would have a plan of how to get on an elevator and where you'd have to wait? And she said, my new commute is not going to be on the expressway, but it's going to be getting in the elevator of my building to get to my desk. And so I think it's going to be a whole new ride. So my suggestion is to really go deep within yourself and feel like, what do you need to do for you to take care of you? Be clear with that, and really share that with your employer or your team or your boss or your colleagues or whoever it is.
And encourage the powers that be to really open their ears and really be receptive to people's feelings. Have managers really maybe be trained on how to understand people's fears, their anxieties, and to be empathetic to that.
Yeah. So we're doing, it's so interesting you say that. So we're working now with an executive team. There's 6 executives. This is a company based in Boston. And we had a call with them of allowing the space to share. And I said to Michael after the call, wow, I guess this is a new type of team meeting. Every one of them cried on the call in sharing their own space and experience of getting really vulnerable. And Brene Brown said wonderful things on vulnerability. And this is a really vulnerable space for all of us. And it's surprising when people get to that, how you bond together, even though we've all we're all in separate places. So, so I think it's about being really honest with yourself and honest with the people that you work with or your customers, your clients, everybody.
And maintaining that communication that's so vital.
Yeah. And so to me, I started my first call at 7:30 this morning. I little pause at 10:30. I actually went outside and sat, got some sunlight on my face and just recentered. And I actually listened to a nice music for 30 minutes just to reset, So you can do that at work. I mean, it doesn't have to be this constant grinding away. So I think there's a lot of breathing practices. We teach them, and we can send those to you, Maddie, and you can share them with your people. Centering techniques that aren't, you don't have to be a guru or a yogi or anybody to do this. I mean, the Navy SEALs use it. They teach a lot of just, they're just simple hand gestures. I mean, there's all kinds of simple little exercises you can do to just bring your brain in balance and to calm your heart rate down.
Well, I think we all could really use that big time, and I am going to be sharing some practices that you're going to suggest, and I will put the link to all of that, and I will share that very soon. So, we were talking about, creating a culture and even, creating a space for vulnerability, which I'm with you on Brene Brown. I've been, binging. I've listened to her TED Talk and her Netflix special. She's amazing. But, in my industry, I work for a furniture dealer, and a lot of what we're talking about right now is creating the physical safety to return to work. Wellness screens, or the horrible term sneeze guards, which I hate that term, but social distancing, all the different cleaning protocols. That's the physical well-being. How do we create a sense of emotional well-being? Because it may not be something where it's going to be life is normal, and it probably isn't very soon. But how do we start to kind of like slowly inch our way back into feeling emotionally comfortable in a workspace with our coworkers?
Well, safety is a state of mind, really. So you can talk about all the physical aspects, but it's an emotional aspect, and you could go at any moment. I mean, we've all known someone that died unexpectedly in an accident or got an illness, or so you can't stop living. And we are emotional, social creatures that wish and need the social connection. I mean, we're human beings. We gather to places to worship. We gather in community. We have organizations like, Girl Scout. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we do as a human species. And so to me, it's really about continuing those connections. It's been interesting, and I don't know if we talked about this originally, but on Zoom, I find, someone, Leslie Whitby from Stantec, reached out to me when this whole first thing started and said, let's just have a cup of coffee, a virtual cup of coffee where we can see each other. I was like, oh, what a great idea. And I found in this, people are more vulnerable with me than being in a face-to-face meeting where you're looking at what they're wearing or who's walking outside or looking at your walk. It's actually you're really becoming present. And so I'm enjoying that vulnerability in that, and I'm hoping that we can continue to do that. And that creates a level of safety. Just talking it out, just being in that with somebody, even though you might not be sitting in the same room or you might not be sitting a foot away from them, you might be 6 feet. And it's also an internal state of being. If I, when I was sharing, when we went to Egypt and we went into some really dangerous places, and it was to see some of these temples that were so sacred and really important to the culture there. And all of the guides kept saying to us, we were in a small group, was stay positive. Your positivity will protect you. And they drilled us into it. And they said, if you go into the fear, it almost creates a vibration in your resonance, in your energy, and you're drawing that to you. Resonance draws resonance. Positive people draw positive people. Negative people draw negative people. So they kept saying, be positive. And when we were going into one of these sites, we had armed guards and all these people, and I thought, oh, look how nice, we're getting a police escort. Never once did I ever think we were in danger. And so I think it's the same thing with the COVID and going back into, if you're thinking about these masks, I'm in danger, I'm going to get sick. You're actually have the possibility of creating that within your field. And there's all kinds of studies of people doing all kinds of work of thoughts create, and the book The Secret and Abraham Hicks, and there's all kinds of things out there. And I encourage anybody to explore that in your own and go within your inner guidance system, which feels right and true to you. But if you're in a state of fear, there's a pretty good chance you're going to draw it to you. So there's no guarantee in life.
You can actually manifest your own negative outcome.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So maybe try to manifest a positive outcome.
So every day, I start every day with a positive, allow me to be a positive vehicle for other people, allow me to be of service, thinking positive thoughts. If it means not picking up my phone right away and checking email, if I need to just get my head in a good headspace, that makes a huge difference throughout my day. If I start in that negative thing, we've all been there, and I went through a very difficult time in my own personal life, and I used to just listen to headphones just to get, these meditative, positive meditation spaces to help me stay in a good, positive space. So to me, I think it's your own work too. You're responsible for your own state of mind. You're responsible for your own feelings. You're responsible for how you show up in the world, and nobody's really doing anything to you. You create it from within. So that's going to be a game changer of people going back and being able to function and flourish.
But I also think that I feel, I don't know about you, Denise, but I know that myself and a lot of my colleagues and a lot of the folks that I know in the industry, there's definitely this sense of powerlessness. And if you have a sense that you can take back your power in a way, in your own way, to me, that's so freeing and that's so exciting to hear that.
Yeah, so being powerless, we've all been there, and we all still go through there. And to me, I dig in deeper, because I know that I'm not here to be some victim or slave, and we've all got on the grind, and we're like, what am I doing all this for? Do I really need all these things? So for me, to take back your power in a loving way, not making the other person or place or situation or company wrong. It's about the clarity of what is okay with you and what is not. And it's about making a stand for yourself of saying, this is what I need. This is what I'm okay with. I know for me, when I got laid off, I was concerned. I was raising my 2 kids. I had a mortgage, and I couldn't, I was, nothing like that ever happened to me before. And it was frightening. And so I got really clear that I wasn't willing to go back into the grind. I was not going, it was not good for my family. It was not good for my health. I was not showing up as the best version of myself. That was taking a stand. That was taking back my power. And that's how my consulting practice started. I went back to people and said, could you take me 1 day a week or 2 days? And people said yes. And it was like, oh my God, who would have thought? And it's been 12 years. And so I've been so blessed that I've had amazing people help me. I have people I can lean into. I had people mentor me and show me how to do a contract, and other people that were in their business. Rhonda Bailey was doing it herself, and had lunch with me and said, you can do this too. I mean, that's what this is all about. So to me, it's really about being vulnerable and taking back your power and saying, hey, this is okay for me. This isn't okay for me.
Do you think that it's also about setting intentions for the day, or setting intentions for, maybe short-term goal, and having an intentional way of going about that?
Oh, that's a great question too. We just worked on this with this group we're working with in Boston. And right now there are so many unknowns, and this is the biggest challenge for this CEO. She has 2 companies. There's so many unknowns, and one of her senior executives was saying, what's the long-term plan? What's the long-term business? And she literally broke down. I said, I don't know. So for me, I don't know where I'm going to be next month, 3 months from now, a year from now. All I know is what I got today, right?
Right. I think that's where we all are right now. We're all in the same boat of like, we're here right now and we don't know what tomorrow's going to hold.
Right. So mine is, I'm going to show up in a positive way. I want to be of service to other people. I want to take good care of myself. I want to have fun. I want to have joy. I want to laugh. I want to be healthy. I want to be free. That's about as far as it goes. I want to be in integrity with paying my bills and having good business practices. So when I wake up in the morning, that's kind of the space I go into. And if I find myself off, like we all get grabbed out in a situation or a lower vibration, and I say, I'm not going to play that game. Like, I'm like, no, you grabbed me. And it's not about the other person. It's really about something in me made that happen. And I need to go back, and as I say, I got to unpack that. What's in there for me to clear out? So to me, that's, and even in some of the esoteric teachings Michael and I do with people studying spiritual practices and meditation and advance, you're responsible for your energy field. You're responsible for your state of mind and being. Nobody else. So that's about as far as I can go. But that intention, when you talk about having an intention, that's a beautiful intention.
Yeah.
And watch the miracles. Let go of the control, because the one thing this thing showed us is we're not in control. We all think we're in control. I was a planner in school, so I want to control everything, and I'm still somewhat a control freak. Ask anybody around me, my children, my partner, he's like, oh my God. So, the pillows have to be a certain way,
Yeah.
So I'll control the little things, but the big things, I've just learned to say, I don't know.
Yeah, we ain't in control, Denise. That's been shown to us. So I'm really interested to know, because you have been so successful, and you have such a great mindset and way about you, and you really kind of have a really good way of dealing with things in the world right now, and we all just could use some advice. Give me a peek into a day in the life of Denise Gindhart. What does that look like, and how are you staying motivated, and what is inspiring you right now?
Okay, well, that's a great question, but something I wanted to touch on before we get there is, the great way is successful. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've made mistakes. I've done things I don't necessarily like or regret. And you need to learn to forgive yourself. None of us are perfect, right? And clear things up with people when you need to clear them up. Or clear them up with yourself if you can't with the other person or the place. And that to me is incredibly freeing. So, you've almost got to do both. And be honest with yourself. I mean, we all have our positives and negatives, right? So that to me gets in there. And so Just know that.
Yeah.
And in the life of me, the one thing I learned when I started my consulting practice, I'm a morning person. Some people are evening for, depending whoever you are. My morning, I like to be the first one up in the house. That is sacred time for me. It's quiet. Even if it's cold outside, we have this beautiful gazebo and the birds, and I have this fish pond that I love nature. I mean, I could live outside if I needed to. I said to Michael, if we lose the house, thank God I love being outside. I could live in a tent. I'm really good with that. So not that I'm wishing that, but I mean, it'd kind of be interesting. So, I sit outside and I take blankets and it's just grounding for me, and it clears my mind, and it really helps not be airy-fairy and woo-woo, and it really helps me be present here and now and in my day and with people I need to be in conversation with. So I start that, and I love some people say coffee's bad for you. I love my morning coffee. I bless it every day. I fill it with, ghee and coconut oil and turmeric and cinnamon, and it's like this loca. I go into this other state of being, and we have this kitty cat that we inherited on this property that's been homeless. He's been living outside we found out, 13 years.
Oh.
I have this love affair with this cat. I mean, it's Siva, which is like warrior. And this cat now comes. It took us a year for him to pet us, and now he's a lap cat, So I sit out there in the morning with him, and that's my morning, what I would call sadhana or prayer or practice. And then I usually, I like to work. I am most productive at the end of the day. So it's calls and reading or proofing or doing whatever. And midday, I've learned with the Zoom environment we're in, I have to take a break. I've set alarm on my phone. Lynn Everhart from DECC, she has her watch that goes off and tells her to do her, minutes to walk around. And so I've done that. And sometimes I just have to move my body. So if I can't exercise, I'll run the vacuum or water plants or, do something that's completely out of a work thing, and then go back to work. And what we've been doing in this state is we're lucky enough, we have a property we can see the sunset, and we need to watch the sunset. Like Michael and I, we both are doing our own thing, and so it's like, it's time for sunset. So we sit and, my older kids were here for a period during the shutdown, and so they would join us, and so that's kind of a day in the life. And to me, it's in enjoying the small things. I mean, I like to cook, and so the miracles of food and how beautiful it is. And even when the food was kind of scarce in the grocery store, I made pasta. It was like, this whole thing, I'm gluten free, you'll gain this weight. It's like, it's all gifts from the earth, let's eat it. Let's see what I can make with this, So nature too is the other piece. I spend a lot of time honoring and loving nature. I mean, it was a gift during this virus to be home during spring.
Yeah.
Get in our car, and I never really paid. I've noticed things that have bloomed on this property that I never noticed. I must have missed because I was too busy going from this place to that place, and it just seems more alive this year than ever before. So that's kind of a day in the life. It's pretty simple.
Well, it's simple, but it's also something that I think a lot of us were not really getting in our former pre-coronavirus lives. I think we've been forced to kind of stop and slow down and spend time with our loved ones, our families, be out in nature and be one with nature, I think, because, there weren't movie theaters, there weren't restaurants, there wasn't live theater, there was nothing. So I think, our relationship with Mother Nature kind of strengthened. So, a lot of this is a gift. And I do, I try to practice gratitude as much as I can. And that's why I think I'm so drawn to you, Denise. So I totally love to hear that. And I think a lot of people are gonna hear that and understand how lucky we are with everything bad that's happening. There's certainly quite a lot of good, and we need to remember that.
Yeah, and gratitude. Thank you for saying that. Gratitude is one of the most powerful energies on the planet. I mean, it's right up there with love. And I know in times when it's been difficult for me, and I've made this suggestion to other people, is I write sticky notes of things I'm grateful for. And one day my son walked in. He was a college athlete, And I had them all over, when he was really having doubt, I put them all over the mirror. So when he woke up in the morning, he couldn't even see himself. So it was just like all these things to be grateful for. So to me, get crazy with it,
It's powerful.
My children growing up in our bathroom downstairs, which I was always the house all the kids all played in. So they always used the restroom down the powder room. I painted happy sayings like "You're amazing," "You're powerful," "You're beautiful," all over the walls. So these kids would go and use bathrooms, come out and say, "I love this bathroom," So to me, it sounds kind of trite or goofy or weird or cheesy but that's good, cheesy's good.
Well, and never has there been a time in our recent history where we've needed cheesy more. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, and I would say this to people. I understand people want to stay informed. We do not watch the news. It's to a point now where it's overwhelming. We have alerts on our phone. We stay updated. Like at the end, it's almost a time at the end of the day. You get the update. You kind of understand what's going on. What the protocol is, and the rest. It's just like it's turned off. Because that will take you down
a rabbit hole that you don't want to be in.
And you know what? It's not that you're being ignorant. It's just you're being clear with your boundaries. This is what I'm going to take in. I don't need to sit there all day and be bombarded with it. So my suggestion is to turn the TV off, turn off the news for a while.
Yeah, you kind of have to be a self-preservationist a bit and be a little self-sustaining and not let all of that seep in, because it can really seep into your psyche. So I want to just ask you now, Denise, we've come to the very exciting part of my COVID convos, but I want to ask you, are there any shows that you're binging? Are there books that you're reading, podcasts you're listening to? And what song can you suggest for my quarantine playlist?
Oh, wow. I got it. There's a new song. I got to find it. So I'm not reading, this is how I read books. It's really interesting. I love books and I have them everywhere, and I've gotten rid of so many, but I always think that someone just sent us a whole library from an ashram. So we have this meditation room at the house. We convert our barn to a big meditation room.
Oh.
So I went in there. It's like a kid, and I have all these books. I came back in the house. And so I just read them. I read a page or two and put them back. I very rarely finish a book from beginning to end. I think the book gives me what I need and I put it back. Binge watching, I haven't really binge watched. I'm a sci-fi thing, so I watched all the Picard, all those series. Michael and I both like sci-fi.
Oh, I love it.
Which is light and kind of completely unrelated to anything going on. And I love history, so I love Victoria. I love that series. It's Victoria. That was like amazing.
So good.
I watched no violence. I do not wish to take any of that in. So for the playlist, it was so good, and I had sent it to a friend for a birthday, and she does she did a class. She works for a company called the Hollister Institute in Boston. Michael and I work with them, and she's doing a course called the Balanced Leader, balancing the masculine and feminine. So I sent this to her for her birthday, is the Divine Feminine Rising, and the artist is Ageet, and it's called When She Rises. When She Rises.
Oh, I love that. I love the sound of that.
It's to a harp, and she's got this Gaelic, Irish, Scottish tone with beautiful hair, and it's very soothing and harp, and and she's singing to the moon as a feminine. So it's really it's a beautiful song. So that's
I love that. I can't wait to listen to it. I can't wait to go outside on a beautiful day and just sit. I live right by the Schuylkill River, sit and look at the river go by and listen to that beautiful song. And Denise, I really, really appreciate you joining me. This was a lovely conversation. I know it'll help so many folks. And I just thank you so much, and please take care.
This is so great, and I love this, and I'm just so excited for you and this venue. It's awesome.
Well, I thank you so much for joining me. This was a great COVID convo, and it's also, so uplifting, and we can really use that. So Denise, thank you. Take care. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be in touch soon.
All right. Thanks, Maddie.
Okay. Bye, Denise.
Bye.
Bye.